2, 1.
Was that a unicorn?
Happy Friday.
Was that a unicorn powered by was that literal fart power that was blasting that unicorn into the air, or what was that exactly, Mr.
Listen,
Wagner?
I'll tell you what this is, Judah. This is a new day.
Yes.
A new day here on the Build and Grow with Real Estate show. Up until this point, every Friday has evolved into a doom and gloom, end of the world, never gonna, the world is gonna end type of show. And starting today, that's changing. We're gonna change the name of our Friday broadcast to the Sunshine and Rainbows program every Friday, where we talk about the news and commentary about real estate. So welcome, everybody. I thought it was only proper to throw a unicorn in there. There's some rainbows on our slides. I'm really excited to talk about today's news. How you doing? What are you doing this weekend?
Oh my goodness. So so much stuff going on. Took my kids out to a really nice dinner last night. I'm going to be posting some photos on Facebook about it because of COVID. Had to miss some really nice birthday meals. And so kind of made up for that last night. And my kids are really adventurous eaters. So we went out to a really nice dinner. Follow me on Facebook to see photos of that. Saturday night, just hanging out with some friends tonight, hanging out with some other friends on Saturday night, just chilling. And I've got some realtoring to do. And that's super fun too.
I love it. Awesome. Field hockey
I'm making beef bouillon with my son on Sunday.
What exactly are you talking about with beef bouillon? I mean, like
beef
bouillon cubes?
Beef bouillon. No, it's like beef with burgundy wine stewed. It's a famous Julia Child. It's a classic French recipe. And I said to my son that we were going to cook through a cookbook, and recipe number 1 is like this really difficult, hard, classic French cuisine. But let's talk about housing, Josh.
Dude, all right, let's get rocking. All right, interesting things going on in the housing market. We'll start with our fabulous weekly news and commentary update here. I mean, I can't believe we're not getting any comments on this. At least a chuckle here.
I know. I feel our audience has left us, Josh. They
like, what the H is going on here?
Right, hey, exactly.
All right, it's Friday. All right, so housing news. Here's what we got going on. There's a lot. So I didn't make a ton of slides, but I made a ton of news, or I at least threw some together. So interesting stuff here. Housing prices saw the largest 2-month jump in recorded history between May and July. 2% increase across the country in the median home price in 2 months. That's 1% a month, 12% annually.
That's crazy.
If you do that for 10 years, you're talking 1,200% increase.
Matt says that he would type, but he was laughing and crying. So that's excellent.
I love it.
Yeah.
Matt.
So what's great about that is it's a little bit contrary to what I've been saying that we are probably going to see a return to the adage that real estate is local, and that we might see more localization of real estate, some markets going up, some markets going down, and all places in between. And what we saw here is a national average of 2% increase over the past 2 months, which is just absolutely crazy. This also feeds back into, even though it didn't necessarily make the news for this week, this is also another point that Josh and I have commented extensively on. You want to really watch out for appraisals. You want to plan for problems with appraisals finding comps. And what are you going to do? I've already started asking people, hey, if the property doesn't appraise, are you still comfortable paying this price for it? And I've been accepting offers on a lot of properties without appraisal contingencies because of what that means.
Yeah. So, following up on that, you've got a lot of, you said it's regional, right? The biggest housing jumps were in the mountain regions and in the South Central regions, Tennessee, Kentucky, Colorado, Utah areas, had a big uptick, but year over year we're up 6.5%. It's pretty astounding. It's pretty great. A lot of this is driven by a 14-year high in existing home sales and a ridiculously low inventory. Right now, the combined, the single-family residence, townhouses, condos, co-ops, they rose 2.4% from July. From like July to August, the number of sales rose 2.4%. In July, what am I saying? July, the number of homes sold was up 11% year over year, and the median existing home price was up $310,000, up to $310,600, or 11.4% year over year. Pretty crazy, right? I mean,
yeah, it's the fact. So that's a really big deal that the median home price is now over $300,000.
Yeah. And then on the flip side of that, inventory. There's less than 1.5 million houses for sale on the market right now across the country. And our friend Eric Brewer is buying 240 of those every year. So, right. And he's not the biggest in the country. So like you look at that stuff, that's insane. That's an insane amount of inventory on the low side. It's almost 19% lower than the same time 12 months ago. Crazy. All right.
Well, and also the other thing is this is shouldn't just be slipped in here at the end. That's a 3-month supply. Right. So when what is 1.3 million? What does 1.49 million homes mean? I can't even wrap my mind around that. So and in some big markets that number is bigger, and in small markets it's obviously smaller. So to normalize everything, to find the lowest common denominator, I have a kid in algebra and a kid in pre-algebra, and so I'm like learning all these. I'm relearning all these algebra skills. So the way you normalize that and find the lowest common denominator way of talking about housing supply is you convert it to months of supply. So if there was no more homes coming on the market in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, the nation, whichever geographic region you want to use, if there was no more units coming on the market, how long would it take at the current pace to burn through the existing inventory? And right now, at a national level, there's only 3 months worth of supply.
Well, and here's what's even crazier. If you average this out, that's 30,000 houses per state. 30,000 in the entire state. Like, it's not many houses.
No.
Yeah. 1.5 million divided by 50. That's how many states we have, right?
Did you do that math right? Dude, am I gonna fact check you?
I thought it was so crazy on the air. Judah, calculator. Like, that's what I'm saying, man. That's an insane amount of there's over 600,000 single family homes in Philadelphia. Like 600,000 in one city in one state. And it's not the biggest the biggest city in the country by far. Wow. I know. Listen, dead air time. It's not really great, Judah. So
yeah, I know dead air time. Yeah. Okay. Great. Keep on moving forward, dear listeners. You're as shocked as we are by these numbers.
All right. So one contributing factor to that, to that underlying shortage is probably the low interest rates. This week we had a increase in the 30-year fixed mortgage rate, up 1 basis point to 2.87%. Man, that's rough.
Right.
Come on. Over the last, it's been 8 weeks since we've been below 3%. And the outlook from the Fed is that this is going to continue for quite some time. Yesterday, when I was talking to Anthony, one of the things that we brought up is that, although there is likely to be an increase in foreclosures at some point in the next 24 months, that will increase demand, drive down prices to a certain extent, because the interest rates remain low, and lending has not been so aggressive that it's going to every Tom, Dick, and Harry that, has a pulse. We still have a really stable market. with respect to everything else that's going on. It's pretty crazy. 15, if you want a 15-year rate, I mean 2.35%. Wow. It's almost, and in fact, I'll bet it's better than free money, because if we look at the rate of inflation, I guarantee you it's more than 2.3% at this point with all the money being pumped into the economy.
Yeah.
So just a nod. Just listen, I'm going to put a bobblehead on here as my co-host tomorrow.
So now you'd like me to talk more. Okay, gotcha.
Listen, I know you're so.
I know that you've got a lot of content to go through. And I think that I agree with you. If I have nothing to add, that's great. The one thing that I would say is, most financial planners out there, especially from the Dave Ramsey School of Thought and others, always really push people into a 15-year mortgage, which I've never really liked. And don't nod your head like you agree with that.
No,
you always say pay off on a 15-year.
You beat me on the mat.
Look at the difference there. We're only talking about a half a point difference in a 30-year mortgage and a 50. When margins get compressed, this is what happens. There's a greater degree of difference, and then as everything goes down, they get compressed tighter and tighter. So the difference between a 30-year and a 15-year is pretty minimal right now. So I would definitely say take out a 30-year fixed mortgage.
Yeah. All right. So we're done with sunshine and rainbows. We're gonna take a look at some of the clouds.
It's clouding up over here. Is that what you're saying?
It's clouding up, and in fact, there's a house falling into an abyss here. It nice. Looks pretty daunting, pretty scary news. Apparently, millions of Americans haven't paid their mortgage, and something like they're predicting millions of people will be 9 months behind by the time this mortgage moratorium or the foreclosure moratorium expires in December. That's not great news. That's not great news at all. 17% of all FHA insured mortgages. 17% is a lot. We're delinquent in July. If you're in New York City, it's a heck of a lot higher number.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, these are big numbers. Now, that's on the surface bad news, except that we need inventory, right. And I know that sounds pretty awful, but like life happens, and you always have the ebb and flow. Maybe prices will go down to a certain extent. Maybe they'll crash, but it's unlikely. Right?
Well, yeah, I don't think we're going to see. I think that there's enough. I think that there's enough out there going on that we're clearly seeing a billion in the market. But I will tell you where another place that we're going to see a lot of supply coming onto the market, and it is in the rental housing market. Because whereas I've been very happy for a long time with our ability to collect rent, that tide is turning. And on September 1st, I was ready to file for 85 evictions. Yeah. And I am having a harder time not only successfully filing for evictions, but I'm also having a hard time collecting rent. And my delinquencies are, I don't want to say spiking, but let's say on the rise. So just like there was a lot of really good restaurants that just couldn't weather the storm, I think that there's a lot of really good rental property owners out there who just aren't going to quite be able to weather this storm.
Well, you know what I think too is not just the owners, but the tenants. Like, look, the number one reason that people don't pay rent, they don't pay their bills, they don't pay their mortgage, it's because they can't afford it. Right? That's the truth of the matter. There are some scumbags out there, but most people aren't. Most people don't pay because they can't.
Especially if you put good people in the property to begin with, which is exactly what we do.
Right. And an uptick in, we've got a struggling economy. We're going to talk about unemployment in a minute, but like we've got a struggling economy, whether we want to admit it or not. The stock market is still up. Housing is really hot. And those things are right now carrying the economy. I think what we will see, and again, talked about this to Anthony yesterday. So my gym, I got a notification on Wednesday that my gym, which I've fallen in love with, is now closing in mid-October. I got a love affair with my gym and she's leaving me. So I got to go find another gym. But the interesting thing about this is that the building in which this gym is located, it used to be a gymnasium. you know. And then they transitioned when they, when the township sold the building. Now they renovated the place, and it's a gym. It's not going to be an office building. It's not going to be a warehouse. It's not going to be a bunch of other things. It's always going to be a gym. So either that place is going to be empty for a while until somebody steps up, or another financial backer is going to step in, and buy the place, rent the place, and think that they can do it better. And somebody will always fill that vacuum. So I think that what we'll see is, as employment increases and gets better and gets more solid, we might have a downturn in housing and in the stock market. Just, it's like everything can't be great all the time. And if it is, something bad's going to follow. Like, it's ups and downs are part of life. Change is normal. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, it's very fair, and Matt brings up a good point here that we are. I thought we already were at 4 or 6 weeks of stock market declines, or maybe maybe that's across the board. All the indices are down for 4 weeks in a row. But yeah, we definitely are headed into. But it's been kind of slow and steady, so I don't think that it's getting a lot of headlines, and I just think that it is. Some profit taking and some readjustments from some over exuberance that has happened. I think that a lot of money was dumped into the market through Robinhood apps and some other things like that. And so there's just some shifting out of some fundamentals are coming to play. We still are, even up on the year in some of those indices. And in the face of a global pandemic, the fact that we are still up, I think, says a lot. So yeah, Matt, I mean, the stock market is on a heading into a 4-week decline, but
okay. Well, fake news. Like, I threw out fake news. Thank you for the correction. All right. All right. Unemployment continues to be high.
Right.
Continued jobless claims are 12.6 million. New jobless claims 870 million or thousand.
Kind of in line with last week.
Yeah, it is. It just, CNN seems to be the only outlet that keeps reporting the pandemic unemployment assistance. Where these are people that they were subcontractors or they were private contractors, that they were the ones that that it makes sense were the most affected by this, because they don't technically get laid off. They just don't get a new contract. They don't get a new gig. Those numbers continue to be pretty consistent, and it really does ratchet up.
Good. Those numbers continue to be consistently good. You said they're consistent.
Consistent. Did I say good?
No, you said consistent. Right. So I was going to say, are they consistently good?
Oh, got it. No, they're consistently bad. I mean, even though we're saying 870,000 new jobless claims, the real number is 1.45 million underemployment claims, or unemployment claims, including that pandemic assistance insurance or assistance, whatever they call it. It's a big number, and it's a problem that it's got to be addressed. And I think I just said that I think it will be, but I think it's one of those things that it's going to take some time to really eat into the hole that we're in. Okay, so that's the news and stats section. I thought this was kind of cool. So we talked about how right now, especially right now, hiring an agent is really the best way to go. I mean, like, you really want a professional, or if you've got a house that needs to be fixed up, call a person like myself, call Eric Brewer, call somebody that is going to come in and give you a cash offer and close quickly and all that kind of stuff. But if you are, if you're selling a property that's in good shape right now, putting it on the market with a qualified agent like Judah Hoover, it is the best bet. You're going to get the most money for the property. You're going to get the most exposure for it. But Zillow has this, what they call it Zillow Homes, this program where their idea is this. Let's say you want to sell your property, Judah. Judah says, look, I got this house at 123 Main Street that I live in. I'm thinking about selling. I'd like to move. He goes and he finds a house that's part of the Zillow Homes program. He goes into the property, and in order to get in, he goes on his app, fills out, becomes a member of the Zillow Homes, whatever, types something and they send him a code. He puts it in the lockbox. He goes in and sees it. By the time he's ready to leave the house, Zillow Homes has a offer on his house. They've lined up potential financing for him so that within a week or two, he can just click the buttons and move, and he doesn't have to worry about listing his house. Now, this is a far away in the future idea. It's not happening right now, but it's a very, really interesting concept. And they took a step closer to that shutdown of like the traditional housing process or housing sales process. They announced this week that they're going to be getting their employees licensed. And so in the past, if they had a property that they wanted to sell as part of their program or their iBuy program, what they would do is they'd list it with an agent. No more. Now everything's going to be listed in-house. And this seems to become to becoming a new trend with a lot of these tech companies that are getting into housing. It's interesting to watch because I don't know, it's just interesting. Like it's interesting to see the transition of an industry.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see the transition of an industry as well. I think that a lot of people are freaked out about it and scared about it. I think that just like Bank of America exists, I think that there are also, they're a big national brand. Well, PNC exists, and they're a local, they're a regional brand, right? We see them around. There's also York Traditions Bank. They're over there in York. There are certain branches like Centric Bank that we only see in the Harrisburg area. There's also community credit unions and other things like that. So I think that what we're going to see is in the real estate space, we're just going to continue to see more of that, where we're going to see large national companies, but then also smaller local companies. I actually had coffee last week with a guy who's a mortgage broker who writes loans out of his living room. I mean, he's got a home office and everything like that, but the big banks haven't put him out of business, and he's doing what the big banks can't do and won't do and things like that. So if you're an agent out there and you tune into the Build and Grow with Real Estate show, and we tell you that being a realtor or being a loan officer or being things like this is a great way to grow and build your future, and you're freaked out about an 800-pound gorilla named Zillow coming to town, I would just tell you, I would not worry about Zillow taking over and pushing everybody out of the business. I think that they're going to push bad people out of the business. I think that your goal isn't to run faster than the bear. Your goal is to run faster than the slowest member of the party.
Well, I agree with that. I also agree, though, that like you think about when Daimler or Mercedes-Benz, right? I think what the heck was when they first invented the combustible engine, right? And they put it in a vehicle for the first time. Well, it's not like all of the people that were making horse-drawn carts were like, it's over. Oh my goodness, we got to stop, right? Some of them adjusted, and yes, over time their impact on the industry and on transportation industry changed. But I think you're going to see the same thing in the housing market. It's not going to be an overnight thing, and it's probably going to be the type of situation where there will be a transition and it will morph into something that is different than what we see today. But it certainly isn't going to be this automated, humanless society where we don't have to have any interaction. We're going to spend all of this money on buying a home, and there's going to be no interaction with any humans. Right. You know what I mean? I just can't imagine. The bigger the ticket item, the more expensive things are, the more human interaction we need.
The more you want, that personal interaction. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Last story of the day, Josh, and we got 6 minutes to cover it, and it is a beauty.
Yeah. So even though housing prices are up, even though it seems so daunting to buy a property in many markets, we got two of the most affordable housing markets in the country right here, close to Central PA. Number 18 on the list is Reading. It's one of the most affordable places to buy a home in the country. And number 30 is Scranton. Number 30 on the list. Yeah. Now these rankings.
Now, do you think that when people are digesting this story nationwide, they are internally pronouncing that word to themselves as Reading, Pennsylvania? That's always one of my favorites when people say Reading, Pennsylvania.
Dude, again, if your nose gets any higher and it rains,
I'm just saying it's hilarious, and it's a great way for people to quickly identify themselves as being a foreigner, not from around here, is when they say Reading, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, there's a lot of those. Especially, listen, you want to talk about crazy names. I mean, go into Lancaster County and you got to go through Intercourse before you get to Paradise and all the other craziness that happens.
And if you take a wrong turn, you end up in Blue Ball.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I'm telling you, Lancaster County, man, those Mennonites and Amish, I don't know.
So here's the thing about Reading. Reading is definitely a market that you want to watch. Reading has been corrupt and crime ridden for a long time, but like they say, a rising tide lifts all boats. And there has been so much going on in Lancaster and York and Harrisburg that it's really pushing into Reading from the one side, and then the other side from everything that's going on in Philadelphia. And I think that we are going to see Reading continue to turn around and continue to do really, really good.
Well, Reading's a cool town. It really is. It's, I mean, it's a city, I guess, technically, but like you get a lot of what you get in Lancaster in that you've got the areas that feel very urban.
Right.
And then you go 2 miles down the street and you're in the middle of the sticks or a cornfield, which is really cool. It's a very neat experience to have.
Well, and Berks County in general. I remember watching Lady and the Tramp and seeing that there was medians down the middle of the street with like trees in the median in the middle of the street. And 30 years ago, you didn't see that anywhere in central Pennsylvania, and except for in Berks County. So Berks County was one of the first one of the places that had that. Taz, we're not allowed to use that word. Josh and I are both white boys, and we are not allowed to use the word ghetto.
Urban does not equal ghetto. That was not even my intention. I'm talking about high density areas versus sparsely populated regions. 100%. And like what? That's exactly what I meant. I said what I meant. Urban.
I think that there's a lot of high density places. I mean, we're seeing. It's funny. Like the past 10 years, the trend has been that cities are really beautifying themselves. And unfortunately, if you want to use a pejorative term, you would call it gentrification. But there's been a lot of really great stuff that has been happening in a lot of cities. And Reading has seen some of it, not as much as what it could or should or what I think that it will. But at the same time, we're seeing a lot of pandemics want to push people out of cities. And I think that that's going to happen on a smaller local level too. And I think that we're also seeing the concerns of civil unrest would be a diplomatic way of saying it. So I think that that is a concern as well that we're seeing in some downtown areas, especially with people getting accosted just sitting out there eating their meals. The pandemic has made people do some street dining, and then that causes there to be targets for protesters and rioters and things like that. And so I think the cities there, I could make the case for cities going in either direction, but I think that Berks County has a lot of positivity ahead of it.
Yeah.
What Reading City has, I think, has some good stuff, but Berks County definitely has a lot of good stuff in store for it.
Well, and Scranton right now is seeing a lot of growth because of a lot of New Yorkers relocating as well. Poconos and in that area as well.
Scranton's outside my footprint, so I don't know. I don't know much about it. I don't want to say I don't care. I almost want to say I don't care, but if you're a listener of ours in Scranton, reach out and say hi.
Listen, I care. We lend up there. We
Okay,
lend
gotcha.
pretty frequently up there and in the Poconos, Lehigh Valley. I mean, everywhere from Mechanicsburg all the way out to the Jersey Shore, south to Northern Virginia. So if you got something you need a loan on, give me a call. But
Give Josh a call.
but
I
don't do it because he doesn't care.
Where
Unbelievable.
are we at on Elon Musk this week, Josh?
Dude,
Nothing.
I tried to find something that was newsworthy. I didn't find it.
Your boyfriend let you down.
It's okay. I'm still gonna crush on him. It's all right. We'll come back next week. Well, I got two tangential things that I wanted to bring up that I didn't have a chance to really dig into. I just saw some news headlines and one thing that you brought up. I want to talk about the drop in collection rates.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, is that exhausted? Is that conversation exhausted? Because I thought that was
it's just that's all the more I have to say about that is I was at one point collecting 98% of my baseline. So I was only 2% below baseline on rent collection. That is no longer the case.
Yep.
And I think that even some good apples have decided to take excuses, and so that's been problematic. I also think that it's a problem that's probably going to get worse before it gets better. But I also think that it's a Band-Aid that's going to be ripped off at the end of the year and the beginning of next year, and it's going to solve itself pretty quickly.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
We should tell everybody about Note School. We are doing a one-day event on the 10th with Note School, October 10th. You want to get registered for it. It's going to be from 9 a.m. till 3:30. So there's going to be a ton of free information crammed into this day. Yes, it is free. There's going to be a lot of RIAs who are attending this.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's not free all the time everywhere.
Right. So there's a lot of RIAs. There's a lot of RIAs who are pushing their people to this, and because Note School is putting it together, you've got to work out a special deal with them. We were able to work out a special deal for our listeners where we were able to get free entry because it's so big. I mean, this sounds cliche, but it will fill up. They will run out of seats. These webinar things, just like on Zoom, you can only have 250 people there. They're doing like EverWebinar or something like that. It's like 1,000 people or whatever is how many people could be on it. Well, guess what? Because it's nationwide, there's RIAs nationwide pushing people to this event. It will fill up, and you want to register. noteschool.com/BGRES. Build and grow with real estate show. So you've definitely got to attend, and you want to be there for this event. We're going to talk about creative financing. We're going to talk about buying notes, selling notes, creating notes, and the whole business. One of the things that people are really upset about right now is wholesaling isn't as easy as it used to be. Great. Learn also how to do notes. One of the things that people are frustrated about is that it is harder to find inventory. Great. Learn how to do notes. This is Josh's favorite way of doing business. My favorite way of doing business is the note side of the real estate business, and we have partnered with Note School. They're experts who want to bring them in and talk about this.
All right. Last news item of the day, and then we're going to get going for the weekend.
Yep.
The state of Pennsylvania, the House passed a law to increase the percentage of the percentage of occupancy. And I didn't see exactly what that was. I wanted to ask you about that and see if you saw anything there. Governor Wolf has indicated that he's planning to stamp that thing with the veto. I just don't understand. The more we go through this, like the CDC came out this week with conflicting reports and all of this about COVID. And I was reading something the other day that shocked me. How many people do you think have died across the country in all 50 states, all of the everything under the age of 25? Everybody, every single one of them.
10.
Oh, I mean, seriously, come on. 320.
Okay, all right. So listen, they're like 200,000 have died. 10 is a close guess.
Are you serious? They're closing half of the schools in the
Well,
country.
yeah, okay, yeah, I
Like
know. It's
you
a
would think
problem.
out of 200,000, right?
Right. Yep.
All right. What percentage of deaths? Okay. What percentage of deaths do you think the over 55 community are associated with as far as COVID?
Oh, just over 55. If we're going the whole way down to
Over
55, I'm going to say 95%.
It's 96. So
Yeah.
we're talking about 4% of
Right.
people that die,
Right.
which is a 0.5%
Right.
of people. It's just, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, we don't talk about COVID on the show, Josh, because
I know, but it's related to it.
you're in my views
I know,
make people
I know.
angry. We get
I'm
called when we do things like talk about math. We get told that we do not agree with science. So we try really hard not to.
I love that when we talk about math, we're talking
Right.
We don't
Math and science don't go together anymore.
They're not the same thing. I get
Right.
it. We get it. Okay.
It's
Well,
Common Core math. It's the new math, is what it is. Where math and science isn't based on math anymore.
wonderful. All right, guys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us today. Another fantastic week on Build and Grow with Real Estate. We'll be back here on Monday with so much more. If you enjoyed watching the program today, make sure that you like and share the video. Until Monday, have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you then.
See you, everybody.